Good morning. Welcome to the early line here on SportsGrid. The madness is underway. Get ready because 12 o'clock Eastern, we got a lot to cover here on the show. Great to be with you. Craig Mish filling in for Donnie Rightside. Of course, I have Joe Ranieri by my side today, but not really. Not really. Normally, Joe is just up the road from me, like a quick drive. Like I'll be in Jupiter Saturday watching some spring training baseball. I thought this time of the year was reserved for you and I doing shows from Florida. But instead, you've made your way up to our studios in New York City, Joe. What gives?
Yeah, please. And I learned as soon as I walked off that plane, left 82 degrees, Craig, and I hit 28 degrees here. I realized I might have made a serious mistake. But don't you worry, I will be there in Jupiter on Saturday, so we will definitely be catching up at a little spring training baseball.
All right, good. My son's entire baseball team making the trip there Saturday for the second to last spring training game of the season. All right, before we get to some college hoops, some NBA, NFL, and baseball as well, it's time to get to some caffeinated Joe.
All right, well, Craig, today we need to talk about one of the best stories of the year in college basketball. And by the way, we just happened to put on a clinic last night on how to just shut the haters up. And boy, did they ever. I'm talking about Miami of Ohio, the Red Hawks. And we've been telling you all season long that this Red Hawks team not only belonged in the tournament, but that they were fearless, they were experienced, and they can flat out shoot any team out of the building. And last night, they proved just that. Let's talk about the selection committee as well there, though, Craig, because they looked about as incompetent as the selection committee looks for college football here. They actually tried justifying forcing a 31-0 regular season team. 31-0, first time since the Zags did it. They only lost one game in their conference tournament, but somehow they kept talking about strength of schedule. And then they told us in the same breath that SMU, the reason that they had made the tournament, the fact they hadn't won a game down the stretch, but they were getting their All-American guard, B.J. Edwards, back, and that is why they thought they deserved a shot in Dayton. Well, wouldn't you know it, an hour before tip-off, B.J. Edwards wasn't available to play. In fact, he got scratched, proving once again head-scratching moves by the committee. And the Red Hawks didn't just win. They dominated 16 threes in that game against one of the supposed Power 5 schools that was going to put them in their place. They did not. The passing, the shooting, the assists, the cutting, the dunks, the offense looked as good as they have done all year long. And now every single year, Craig, we get one of these teams, right? Casual fans who don't pay a lot of attention to college basketball, the one thing come tournament time they want is a Cinderella team. They want an underdog to take down the Giants. Well, America, let me introduce you to the Miami of Ohio Red Hawks, because if you're looking for a team that can take down one of the big boys here and make a little money along the way, then Miami of Ohio, who is taking on Tennessee on Friday, they're already an 11.5-point dog in this game. And I got to tell you here, if I'm Rick Barnes, I am not sleeping well here tonight, because if you listen to guys like Bruce Pearl who don't think that they belong, it is going to be an absolute short tournament for Tennessee. So good luck to the Red Hawks. And Craig, let the madness begin, my friend. It is the most beautiful time of year.
Yeah, and let's just keep it real here. The odds are basically showing us that the NCAA tournament, especially in the first round, is supposed to be chalk. I mean, there are huge double-digit favorites across the board today and early tomorrow. And Miami, Ohio, pulling off an upset as approximately 7-point underdog last night. And hopefully that is what's to come here for the tournament, because nobody wants to see certainly all the favorites win. All right, let's get to some of our top headlines here on the early line. Here is our early lineup. We'll start off with the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks appear to be at odds yet again. Right now, it appears, Joe, that Giannis is going to sit the remainder of the season, but this is a courtesy sit, courtesy of his own team, the Milwaukee Bucks. looking at those ping pong balls saying, you know what? We want to try and get some help next to you, Joe, but Giannis wants to play again. Which way does this end up going? The team side or the superstar side?
He's missed 32 games already this year, and they can't seem to. Is he going? Is he staying? Trade me, don't trade me. I want to stay. Now, it seems that the team is like, listen, you already missed 32 games. Let's just call it a season. We'll figure out what's going to happen in the offseason, and we'll move on from there. But Giannis is adamant. He doesn't want to sit these final 14 games. He wants to play. He says, I'm healthy enough to play. I want to play. I wish they would just break up already, because the drama here is over the top for the Milwaukee Bucks, and Giannis likely has played his last game in a Bucks uniform.
Yeah, but I would agree. The offseason, much better time to trade a player, by the way. I did all that stuff about trading him a few weeks ago.
Yep.
When you're only dealing with about 8 teams that wanted him, let's open up this pool to everybody in the NBA. Makes more sense then. All right, I think there's a potential upset coming this weekend in college basketball, and I think that the name of the team is the South Florida Bulls. My gosh, they are like the hottest team going into the tournament, and they're facing off with Louisville, and Louisville, Joe, may not have Michael Brown in the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament. He has a back injury, and USF is the 11 seed. But what am I missing here? I guess we'll talk about it later in this game. It seems to me the Bulls are ripe for a big upset. This is one of the teams that I'm picking in the bracket.
Yeah, and they're going to be a very popular upset here. The number down to 4.5. And listen, Michael Brown Jr., they're a different team with him on the court. But like anything else in the tournament time, who makes more threes? It's the great equalizer. Louisville, the better three-point shooting team. If they make them, they win. If they don't, South Florida wins.
Yeah, love South Florida in that game. Also, let's get to some hockey here real quick, Joe. Sidney Crosby, he comes back after an 11-game absence. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points in a shootout against the Hurricanes. Remember, he was hurt in the Olympics back in February, so basically a month out, and he comes back. And they're really happy to get him back in the lineup, aren't they?
You should. A hockey fan should be glad to see that he is back, and it wasn't anything serious or long term. But they got some catching up to do here. So hopefully he can bring them over the finish line for the postseason.
Gary Bettman does not confirm, does not deny the Russian WCOH invite. We don't know which way this is going to go, but obviously with everything happening in their country, Joe, it still remains unclear as to whether or not they'll be involved.
Listen, just give me the best players from around. That's what this tournament is supposed to be about. Don't make it about anything other than the guys on the ice. And you can't truly claim to be the best in the world if you don't have a team from Russia out there competing.
The Masters is on deck, and we're just a few weeks away, Joe. Next week is opening day, and then we get the Masters almost immediately out of that. Rory McIlroy, who is getting ready for the Masters, he is the honorary dinner menu picker. Is that a thing? Honorary dinner menu picker. Yeah, fair enough. Peach ricotta flatbread, rock shrimp tempura, bacon wrapped dates, yellowfin tuna. Anything on the menu here, Joe, that piques your fancy?
Yeah, needless to say, I'd be going to the first tee hungry, Craig. Let's just leave it at that.
A little burger.
I would agree. Would not work out for me.
I don't think Tiger Woods is going to play here in the Masters, Joe. There's like nothing pointing toward him playing. He released a statement yesterday and said he has good days, he has bad days, but I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like we might not have him in this.
I don't think we will. Nobody wants to watch him shoot 80 on the opening round. Nobody.
And also the WNBA coming to an agreement with their players. Players and the union have agreed on a new salary cap. Congrats on this landmark agreement for the WNBA, a salary cap of $7 million. We will take a quick time out here on the show. We'll be back with more of the early line after this.
Thunder side, while they haven't had their stars totally for the entire regular season, they're still 3-4 games ahead of where the Spurs are, and that says a lot. Without SGA, without J-Dub, who's missed a large chunk of the year, Chet missed some time, for them to be still good enough to keep winning and stacking these wins it means something, and it's actually building confidence for those others.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This team could be an ATS machine.
Yeah, you know what? I got excited. I usually get excited about the Jets in the offseason and kind of think, they could be sneaky better than people give them credit for. And even this Geno Smith deal, I originally kind of rolled my eyes and thought, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And then you come to the conclusion and you realize, Kevin, they're paying him $1.3 million a year.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop, you know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to the early line here on SportsGrid. It's time now to talk some NCAA tournament. I know the field of 68 is really a thing, or 72 or 100. But, Joe, I'm into the field of 64, and that all begins today at noon Eastern. We're going to break down some of the games here and get started. And I got to tell you, I've never seen an NCAA tournament with these lines like this. I mean, I've been following this, Joe, a long time, as long as you, probably the same, longer. I mean, Every game here is a 10 or a 20 or even a 30. And this new day and age of the NIL, I guess, has just made the teams better and some teams worse. Because look at this line here as we start off with Idaho taking on Houston. These lines of 23.5, as you can see, listen, Houston's much better than Idaho. I understand that. But these lines were used to reserve for the 116 matchup. But here we are in a 215. 10-10 Eastern, and Houston, who is closing in on a #1 seed of the NCAA in the regular season, came up just short. Their style of play is holding the ball and playing great defense. Total 137.5 in this game.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned the ridiculous spreads, Craig, and when I first glanced at it, I thought I was looking at the NBA, and then I realized, oh no, this is the field of 64, because the NBA is no different with these ridiculous spreads that we're getting. But listen, we've had 4 underdogs in the play-in game so far. Have not only covered here, but have somehow managed to move on. You saw 2 more last night with Prairie View and Miami of Ohio. But now that we get to the 64, this number is this number for a reason. Listen, Idaho, great feel-good story out of Big Sky, but they have not been to the tournament since, 1990? Their Wikipedia page, Craig, doesn't even carry any of their stats past 2018. They kind of gave up on the team here, or following them, but they ran the table there in the Big Sky tournament. Here they find themselves lucky enough to take on Coach Sampson and Houston. I don't think it's going to be close. They don't do anything particularly well. But usually what happens with teams like this is that Houston boat races them early and then just takes the air out of the ball, slows the game down in the second half. I have a feeling this is likely what's going to happen here, Craig. I think cut these big spreads in half. Take Houston in the first half and then just kind of sit back and watch the mauling continue.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about this is that it's possible we get the biggest upsets in the history of the NCAA tournament, if a lot come in. But I don't know.
Correct.
I mean, they set these lines for a reason, and they're usually pretty good at it. They're not, they're gonna build another casino off some of these wins. But anyway, all right. So Howard is in the NCAA tournament. They won earlier this week to jump in. and they're taking on Michigan. Congrats to them. Michigan 31.5-point favorites, total of 151.5. And if you really got the stones to take Howard here, yeah, that's probably not something that I'm willing to do. We've seen a couple of 116s in the history of the tournament. Joe, I don't anticipate this being one. I know Michigan's seething a little bit after that loss to Purdue on Sunday. I'm guessing they come out stronger here.
Yeah, and listen, kudos to Howard. I mean, they a good win by them against UMBC, who was one of the hotter teams in the country, but so is Howard here. They've been running the table as of late. They're an experienced team. They're always the class of the MEAC. But again, there are classes here, and right now might be one of the biggest step up in classes that Howard has seen in a very long time. Their entire game plan, Craig, is to pressure the guards, right? They love to throw a lot of bodies at the guards, force turnovers, and score easy buckets. You are not going to make the guards of Michigan sweat here, Howard. Michigan, I'm with you, I think has a bad taste in their mouth in that last game against Purdue. This, too, I would cut in half, though. I would also look to back Michigan early and sit back and watch it all unfold in the second half.
Part of the story of the tournament is who's hot going in. And for Virginia Commonwealth, that is the story here. One of the hottest teams in the country entering the NCAA tournament. They got a tough matchup to begin here against North Carolina. Yep. The Tar Heels are 2.5-point favorites with a total of 152.5. But Joe, when it comes to this sort of stuff, these teams like VCU, and I understand, look, they've got a lot of history playing in the tournament and being one of those higher seeds and advancing. But I usually like to ride these kind of teams, the teams that are hot going in, and keep it going.
Yes, and listen, no Caleb Wilson, and North Carolina is a fundamentally different team without him on the court, and we have seen that. That's not the team that beat Duke. Wilson was a big part of that. And VCU, to your point, Craig, comes in as one of the most complete mid-major teams that you're going to see out of the A-10. But, there are levels to this, right? These two teams know one another. I mean, they're both in the same vicinity there in the same part of the country. They both understand what each program and the history behind it. It just feels like North Carolina, another one of these class games where North Carolina, even their backups are still better than some of the starters on VCU. So I tend to think that while it may sweat a little while, I think North Carolina, the better team, will eventually win.
One of the earlier games on Thursday is a point spread that should be probably 13 or 14, but because of the head coach of the team, it's 16.5, because you dare not go against Tom Izzo in the month of March. They take on North Dakota State. The Spartans are 16.5-point favorites. You see 15.5 there, so some steam coming toward North Dakota State, but this is just not one of those teams that I like to fade in the early rounds of the tournament. Now, there's a lot of mixed opinions on how good, Joe, Michigan State actually is this season. They got themselves a 3 seed. They're laying 16.5 in this game.
If the defense shows up for Michigan State, which has been MIA for the entire month of February, but if they show up, Craig, this game is a absolute blowout. If Fears keeps hitting guys in the groin and turns the ball over, not going to happen here. It could be a lot closer than Michigan State likes.
Texas got themselves a win in the play-in to move toward this Thursday night game against BYU. Clearly, a month ago, you would have thought that Texas would be favored in this game, but they had a really rough stretch entering the tournament. They are 2.5-point dogs to the Cougars. The total is 157.5. This is tonight at 7:25 Eastern.
In these spots, I want the team with the best player on the court. And that team is BYU and A.J. DeBansta.
We'll be back breaking down more of March Madness here on the Early Line next.
Thunder side, while they haven't had their stars totally for the entire regular season, they're still 3-4 games ahead of where the Spurs are, and that says a lot. Without SGA, without J-Dub, who's missed a large chunk of the year, Chet missed some time, for them to be still good enough to keep winning and stacking these wins, it means something, and it's actually building confidence for those others.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This team could be an ATS machine.
Yeah, you know what? I got excited. I usually get excited about the Jets in the offseason and kind of think, they could be sneaky better than people give them credit for. And even this Geno Smith deal, I originally kind of rolled my eyes and thought, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And then you come to the conclusion and you realize, Kevin, they're paying him $1.3 million a year.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop, you know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to the early line here on SportsGrid. Get ready for a little Prairie View basketball this week in the NCAA tournament. Maybe only one game, probably. They take care of Lehigh last night, 67-55. So they pull off the minor upset. They get to take on my Gators in the next round. How's that going to go? Before we get to that, let's get to Tremaine Jackson, as Prairie View's head coach, talked about getting the big win.
I forgot what happened. Did we just win again? That's how quickly. You have to move on quickly. You're already thinking about, this deal right here. That's already on my mind, how we're going to be able to, what can we do against a machine like that? But we will show up and we'll put our best foot forward and, we'll see where we are. But obviously, I'm going to try to enjoy it, with our players tonight. Our esteemed AD here, who's kind of escorting me tonight. It makes me feel special when your boss kind of walks in with you, Anton Golf. So I'm excited that he's here. So, but we're going to go in and do the very best we can and just try to keep this thing moving.
Ultimately demanded so much traffic on a night where we were needed to play really well, and we just didn't necessarily shoot the ball as well as we needed to. But this moment and this disappointment doesn't define the season that we had, and it doesn't define these young men. Their productivity, as strong as they've played, and I couldn't be more proud of them. I couldn't be more proud of the way in which they represented Lehigh University, and I care a great deal about each and every one of them.
Yeah, it's kind of like the team that got this draw got the worst draw of them all, it feels like, Joe. Again, because the Gators are playing in Tampa, and 35.5-point favorites they're going to be in this game. I mean, look, this is one of those rare situations. Look, I understand, proximity-wise, you and I know, Joe, living in Florida, how far these places are from one another. Couple of hours, basically, is what we're talking about here. That place is going to be absolutely rocking. I feel a little bad for Prairie View because outside of keeping this close to the first half, they're not going to win this game.
Well, but listen, kudos to them because I think they've won 8 in a row now. They finished the year strong. Nobody expected this is their first tournament win, right? So, I mean, that's huge for a mid-major program like a Prairie View. Getting a chance to go to a tournament game, the play and actually win it is going to do wonders for that program and for that school. And for Lehigh, they have been there. They're famous for that 2012 upset of Duke in the tournament, and they haven't been back since. But the reality is Nasir Whitlock, their Patriot League MVP, the guy that carried them all year, was held scoreless until about 13 minutes ago in the second half. So if your best player doesn't show up on the biggest stage, you got very little chance to win. But kudos to Prairie View. Enjoy it now, because I don't know how much celebrating they're going to be doing after the Florida game there, Craig.
Maybe a little bit more for Miami, Ohio, the marquee game of the first four. They end up pulling off an upset against SMU. So naturally, everyone had Miami, Ohio, maybe going to the second round of the NCAA tournament, but they still had to get through that first four. They did by winning against the Mustangs last night, 89-79. Here's Miami, Ohio head coach Travis Steele on getting to the next round.
You know, number one, really appreciated all the Miami fans showing out tonight. In a lot of ways, it was a home game for us. You know, it's such a unique opportunity to come watch an NCAA tournament game. We're only 50 minutes away from campus, so very, very appreciative of that. But again, listen, we have great players, and I've been saying this the whole year, but we have better human beings. Our guys play for one another. They play the right way. I think we finished with 20 assists, 4 turnovers on the game. My goal is to get up at least 40 threes. Shot 41 threes. And I felt like if we could just neutralize them on the glass, because they are so big and they're athletic and they're tough, I thought we'd give ourselves a really good opportunity to come away with a win, which we ended up being even on the glass, 35-35. The message I gave our guys before the game was leave no doubt with who the more attacking team was, and I thought that was very evident from the jump ball all the way to the very end of the game. But really proud of our guys. Obviously, there's a lot left to be done yet.
Well, we're very proud of these players seated next to me and the rest of our team. We had a really good year at SMU. Made March Madness first time in 9 years at the school, so they meant a lot to this program, especially Boopy and BJ and Sumet, the returnees, and of course Corey and Jerron and Sam were transfers that came this year, and to do what they did, win 20 games and compete at the highest level.
Good progress for SMU, but the team to watch is Miami, Ohio. We got more March Madness preview coming up next here on the early line. Be right back.
Thunder side, while they haven't had their stars totally for the entire regular season, they're still 3-4 games ahead of where the Spurs are, and that says a lot. Without SGA, without J-Dub, who's missed a large chunk of the year, Chet missed some time, for them to be still good enough to keep winning and stacking these wins, it means something, and it's actually building confidence for those others.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This team could be an ATS machine.
Yeah, you know what? I got excited. I usually get excited about the Jets in the offseason and kind of think, they could be sneaky better than people give them credit for. And even this Geno Smith deal, I originally kind of rolled my eyes and thought, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And then you come to the conclusion and you realize, Kevin, they're paying him $1.3 million a year.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop. You know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
right, welcome back to the early line here on SportsGrid. NCAA Tournament March Madness, less than 5 hours away. We got full coverage of that for you here. But before we get there, we got to go back, take a look at some baseball from last night and move forward as well. Opening day. That's right, opening night. Joe Ranieri, 1 week away. 1 week away. We've got the Yankees taking on the Giants opening night. That game will be on Netflix. And speaking of the Yankees, Joe, they got Garrett Cole back yesterday, who actually threw an inning of spring training. I don't anticipate seeing him at the start of the season, so that means that he's not playing a huge factor in the early part of the year. But let's be honest, the Yankees are playing for the second half of the season, and they're playing for the World Series, which they're playing for every year. But Joe, Cole being back at least in a spring game means that he gets some, AA starts, AAA starts, and then maybe we'll see him in a couple of months, right? Seems fair.
Well, listen, I don't want to see him anywhere in April. I don't even want to see him in May, for that matter, Craig. And then, listen, nobody knows this better than the Yankees. It's a marathon, not a sprint, 162-game season. Garrett Cole, much like, and kudos to what the Dodgers did with Ohtani last year. They were in no rush to bring him back. They started warming him up, stretching him out after the All-Star break, and that is the way the Yankees have to approach this. It is much more important to have Garrett Cole ready for August and September and beyond than it is for anything else. But it's great to see the fastballs there, the miles per hour there, no discomfort. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that moves accordingly.
And I think right now, when you look at the Yankees' win total, it's pretty much exactly where it was a year ago. 90-plus wins, minus 140. 100 is plus 390. 110 at 18-1. It feels like a similar season for them. They really didn't do a ton. They brought back Bellinger. Joe, I mean, you know what this Yankee season is going to look like. It's going to look good at the beginning.
Correct.
There's going to be a slump where everyone wants to fire the manager. And then they're going to make the playoffs, either winning the division or winning the wild card. And then it'll be up to the postseason, right? I mean, the script is already set.
Rinse and repeat, Craig. We do this all the time with the Yankees. We already know what's coming on here. There'll be highs, there'll be lows. They'll be, all right, we're back. Now just don't mess it up. Rinse and repeat here. By the time we get to the trade deadline, everyone will be screaming that they got to go make this move or that move. The reality is there's no value, I think, in that number with the Yankees because that's probably what they're going to win. If they have a really exceptional year in one-run games, Greg, that might be an easy over. But if they don't, they're still making the postseason out of the East, but it's the health that we have to be concerned with, at least in the early going.
Shohei Ohtani back on the mound for the Los Angeles Dodgers in Camelback, Arizona. It's been quite the run for a lot of these guys in the World Baseball Classic, so you can't expect Ohtani to be ready, at least at the start of the season. They're saying 3 to 4 innings from Ohtani at the start. I don't know if I buy that yet, but this is what they're saying. Ohtani probably in his first start, I would guess, would make a 2-inning start, maybe 3, kind of be used as the opener. But they've got the most formidable season win total in the history of baseball, Joe. It's 102.5 to start the year, minus 220 for 100 wins, plus 260 for 110, no thank you, and 117 to break the record. I mean, look, obviously on paper they have a chance to be the best team in the history of baseball, Joe. But they had that chance last year, too. And people got a little crazy on that number, right?
Exactly. Everyone went, it was going to be easy, 106, 107. Man, in a 162-game season, there is a lot that can happen here. Plus, they didn't have the greatest of bullpens for long stretches in that, where you have to score 11 runs to win a game. That's not always going to take place. But Ohtani, who shows up throwing 99 on the gun, looking every bit a dominant pitcher that we anticipate he will be. He wants to ramp it up this year. He wants to pitch more often. We'll see how the Dodgers use him, maybe sparingly early, and then once again, get him ready for the second half of the year.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same thing as the Yankees, except for a little bit more built, I would think, for October. Mm-hmm. Another team that hopes to be built for October are the Chicago Cubs. Had a really nice offseason, but got a scare the other night when Seiya Suzuki was removed from the World Baseball Classic game in Japan. stole second base, and then, as you can see in that photo, came up limping a little bit. He reported back to Arizona with a limp as well, and he will play this weekend, at least on a backfield, to see how he progresses. Here's Craig Counsell on a decision to either have him active on the 26-man or IL him for opening day.
So did the MRI. He's got a strain of the PCL, part of his knee. Minor in nature. So we're going to treat it right now, kind of see how he progresses kind of through the weekend. And then that'll kind of determine, essentially that'll determine whether an IL stint is necessary. I think he's, right now you're in, I think when he got back yesterday, seeing him for the first time, he's limping right now. And so that means there's probably some swelling in there, and it's gotten better from that perspective already. But he's going to continue activity. He's not being shut down right now. He's going to play catch today. So we're going to continue activity. And he's able to tolerate activity. We've got to get swelling out of there. That's going to make him feel more comfortable. And then we don't have to stop anything, and then we'll just progress kind of things as tolerated.
Suzuki's a big piece, Joe, of what the Cubs do. But what I find kind of funny this go around, Joe, is that all of this discourse last time for the World Baseball Classic with the injuries is gone. No offense to Seiya Suzuki, Joe, but nobody cares. The World Baseball Classic was so good. This argument, we can't have the WBC because of injuries. This was the thing that they were trying to avoid, a player getting hurt. But, Joe, the popularity of this tournament, as you saw at Lone Depot Park, has eliminated any conversation about anybody being worried about any specific player going down. I feel bad for Suzuki, but it's baseball. These things are going to happen.
Exactly it. Listen, so much was being made about how they were bubble wrapping pitchers for the World Baseball Classic, but, position players nobody cared about. Well, yeah, it could have happened in a spring training game. It's no different here. So, unfortunately, fortunately, I guess, Craig, with 162 games, right? He's got enough time early on for the Cubs to heal up, and there's plenty of baseball for him this year. He's not out for the year, so, he'll be fine and back with the Cubs before you know it.
All right, if you're going to go to a Mets game, and I know that Joe dabbles in Little City Field summertime ball here, how about 9 beers, 9 dogs, 9 innings? Mets release a souvenir box that includes 9 hot dogs, 9 beers. But the question is, how many people are buying this? Who is this for, Joe?
Craig, I went there last night trying to buy it, and unfortunately I got removed from Citi Field. But, they're not there yet, but I can tell you there's going to be a lot of folks taking advantage of 9 beers, 9 dogs, 9 innings at Citi Field. Listen, that's the best reason to go to Citi Field. Certainly isn't watching the Mets.
Yeah, I was trying to picture in my mind Joe Ranieri running on Citi Field without a shirt on the field. Nobody on the field. One quick NFL note here. Does this make any difference at all that Andy Dalton's career is going to continue and play in Philadelphia? I mean, the Eagles are hoping he doesn't play, right? That's the idea?
Yeah, but if he has to, at least you've got a guy with experience, Craig, that it should not be, that's what a backup is. He's there just in case, right? And Andy Dalton is more than capable of holding down the fort for a game or two.
Coach JY, James Young is up next. His bracket better be good. The pressure is on. We'll have him for you after the break. You're watching The Early Line here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
Thunder side, while they haven't had their stars totally for the entire regular season, they're still 3-4 games ahead of where the Spurs are, and that says a lot. Without SGA, without J-Dub, who's missed a large chunk of the year, Chet missed some time, for them to be still good enough to keep winning and stacking these wins, it means something, and it's actually building confidence for those others.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This team could be an ATS machine.
Yeah, you know what? I got excited. I usually get excited about the Jets in the offseason and kind of think, they could be sneaky better than people give them credit for. And even this Geno Smith deal, I originally kind of rolled my eyes and thought, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And then you come to the conclusion and you realize, Kevin, they're paying him $1.3 million a year.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop. You know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to the early line here on SportsGrid. The NCAA Tournament, of course, officially gets underway, in my opinion, today at 12 o'clock Eastern. The field of 64 is set. So, what has been happening in the last 48 hours? Our next guest has been diving into the numbers. He's been busting open the bracket. He's trying to pick the upsets. And then he gets through his first bracket, and he's like, that's not good enough. I'm going to do another one. And then another one, and then another one. Hopefully not that many. Coach JY, James Young is in the house. Joe and JY going to chop up the NCAA tournament, go over some picks. JY, welcome back to the early line here. And I got to imagine for a guy like you, I mean, what does the next 4 days look like here? A lot of couch, a lot of watching. What else?
It depends on the kind of time of day. A lot of coffee, a lot of beer, maybe a little bourbon at the end of the night. I don't know. But it's that time. It's that time of year, Joe, where we get to talk hoops and we are loaded with action. Folks, get ready because this is the time of year.
The madness begins, Coach. You got to love it here. And it's going to start a couple of fascinating games I want to go over with you because in the tournament, single elimination, styles make fights, right? Well, you got buckyball going on with Texas A&M here, and they have never met a game or a 3 they didn't like to take or run up and down the court. The problem is they're taking on St. Mary's. You can't find 2 teams the polar opposite the way they want to play than these 2 teams. So this one coming up out of the South bracket here, A&M, 2.5-point dog against St. Mary's, 147.5, which is high for a St. Mary's game. But what do you think? What style wins out here, Coach?
I think it's St. Mary's style that wins out. And I think Coach Bennett is actually underrated offensively. I actually had a good talk with my good friend Mark Campbell, head women's coach at TCU, and he credited a lot of his offensive game planning to St. Mary's game planning. Well, I'm like, wait, St. Mary's offense? And you kind of put it together. And their offense in the pick and roll is pretty good. So I like St. Mary's here on the money line. But to me, they're the team that if they want to win this game, it's got to be more likely to be under that 147.5 number. If you like the over, then you probably go the other way. Texas A&M that wants to get up and down the floor and shoot some threes. But I like Coach Bennett's crew, a dangerous crew at the 7th seed to get the win on the money line.
Yeah, going to be a fun one. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. Bucky's done a great job with A&M this season. Nobody expected him to even make it to this particular point. I don't think anybody expected Penn to have a whole lot of success either with good old Coach McCaffrey. So I think this is now the 5th team or some ridiculous number that he has actually brought to the tournament. No longer the days of Iowa, but now Penn's got to take on Illinois, Coach. And this is another one of these, 21 and a half, 23 and a half. It's even higher than that now. 25 and a half now. Illinois is a favorite. What do we think? Can the boys at Penn hang with Illinois?
Well, listen, shout out to my good friend Fran McCaffrey. I talked to Fran right after the game, and he was just so excited. That win that took place over Yale. By the way, Coach Jones, I know Coach Jones as well. I mean, what they did at the end of that game was criminal in regard to how they coughed up that game, calling a timeout up 3, then not fouling, then letting, obviously, T.J. Power, who went nuclear. And T.J. Power was a big-time player, scores about 20 points, 8.8 rebounds. To me, the thing that's going to be the struggle for Penn is going to be the ability to stop Illinois. This is the Illinois team, Joe, that's number 1 in offensive efficiency for most of the country, most of the season, I should say. Wagler and Bosler are as good as they get in the backcourt, but then you have to look at Mikovic in the front court, which gives you about 16 points and 7 rebounds a game. Just way too much. I'm concerned about the spread and that backdoor coverage, Joe, with that big number. But to me, if you look at anything, you can go with either Illinois first half or just like the Illinois team total. I just think they score, and they score at will versus Penn.
Yeah, offensively, not great, Penn, but they won a lot of games with their defense down the stretch to get them to this point. So kudos there to Coach McCaffrey. I'm looking forward to this game a lot in the Midwest, Coach, because who doesn't love what the Billikens and Robbie Avila brought to the table this year? This was, outside of Miami of Ohio, would have been the story of the year from the mid-majors, but they kind of lost focus a little bit there at the end of the season. And now they got to take on a Georgia team there with Mike White, who, again, is going to run up and down the court. I don't know if we should look at the over in this game. It's only 2.5. That's what the Billikens are getting. Is this the first mid-major upset for you?
This could be an upset right here, and I wouldn't be shocked. Robbie Avila, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, still one of the great all-time nicknames in college basketball for the last 20 or so years. Big Robbie can play. And anybody, if you have time, go watch the end of that Dayton game, which was one of the wildest 15 seconds of basketball you'll ever see in regards to shot making by both teams. The concern here, obviously, with both teams is defensively. Listen, you look at the Bulldogs. They give up 83 points per game over their last 10 games. They're going to run. Mike White, that's all he does when he gets down the floor. Look at the over in this game because St. Louis can score and score pretty well as well. So look for that game to go over.
Yeah, I can't sweat out an under there. I'm with you, Coach. Not at all. And then, of course, we get to see the Zags try to make another run here. Pretty good spot as a number 3 seed, taking on Kennesaw State, who has also been known to put up a few points here. But, Coach, 21 and a half. It's been nothing but Zags money in the market. 154 and a half. Isn't this the Zags time of year? This is where they start making a run?
Yeah, they started making a run here with Gonzaga. So I like them minus the points. Graham Ike, Grant Foster, obviously, losing Huff is hurt them, but they got too many dudes. And this is the time of year where Mark Few makes a run. Kennesaw State will shoot a ton of threes, probably shoot themselves out of the game. If there's a 20-point favorite I like today in that range, this is this one. Lay the points with the Zags.
Gotta love it. It is Mark Few and company. It is the most beautiful time of year here, Coach, because it's madness, and we might have a couple of upsets here. So I'm looking excited here for this first round. Little chalky at the top, but maybe, just maybe, we got a couple of plus money dogs coming our way there, Craig. And I know Mish is all over it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the South Florida Bulls win their first game against Louisville. That's my big upset today. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Thunder side, while they haven't had their stars totally for the entire regular season, they're still 3-4 games ahead of where the Spurs are, and that says a lot. Without SGA, without J-Dub, who's missed a large chunk of the year, Chet missed some time, for them to be still good enough to keep winning and stacking these wins, it means something, and it's actually building confidence for those others.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This team could be an ATS machine.
Yeah, you know what? I got excited. I usually get excited about the Jets in the offseason and kind of think, they could be sneaky better than people give them credit for. And even this Geno Smith deal, I originally kind of rolled my eyes and thought, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And then you come to the conclusion and you realize, Kevin, they're paying him $1.3 million a year.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop. You know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to the early line. As we wrap up this first hour, we bring back Coach Young, JY, here to break down some more games. Of course, Joe Ranieri as well in the house. I'm filling in for Donnie Rightside today. You can catch Donnie later today on our college basketball coverage. All right, let's continue our breakdown of the games. Coach, back to you for this one. Ohio State takes on TCU, 12:15 Eastern. I'm a little confused with TCU this season. I know they had a really good year. They had some really strange losses. UCF, Colorado. I guess Ohio State is the better team here, Coach, but, TCU may be the more talented team. I don't know if that's fair. I don't know what to expect out of them. I'll toss to you for that.
I think TCU is the better team. I think they've been more challenged. And I think Jamie Dixon is one of these coaches. I wrote an article last week on my Substack about the greatest coaches of my lifetime, the last 50 years, Joe. And I forgot about Jamie Dixon. Jamie Dixon's done a hell of a job for a long time. I like TCU on the money line to get the win. And I will say this. Look at what they've done during the regular season. They gave teams scares. And they're going to give Duke a scare. I'm not saying they're going to beat them. I'm saying they're going to be in the game. Look for TCU to win on the money line today.
One of the big storylines, Coach, that we know, it's well documented, but the Nebraska Cornhuskers and Coach Fred Hoiberg, they've never won a tournament game. 0-8, in fact, and they are sliding here. I mean, what were they, 6-6 down the stretch on the season? They started the season 20-0. Troy's not going to roll over for them. I watched that, double or triple overtime game against San Diego State out west. This is a tough team, Troy. I don't think they win, but can they keep it within the 13 and a half points here?
Yeah, this is a game that's going to be a live play for me, Joe, because of Troy's ability to shoot the ball and shoot themselves back in the games. To me, in Nebraska, when you have a team, Joe, that hasn't won a game ever in their NCAA tournament history being 0-8, to me, what you may want to do if you're Freddie Hoiberg is maybe you take them in the first half and just say, you know what, let's get off to a good start. Let's get a lead. Let's get up by 8 or 9 points at the break, and let's hold on. So to me, I think it's the way you play it. 12.5, big number. Lay the points in the first half. Freddie Hoiberg's team's really good defensively. Look for them to lock down defensively. Maybe Troy makes a run. That's why I'm worried about the backdoor cover. Lay the points in the first half for the Cornhuskers.
All right. Well, I'm not sure this number is high enough here, Coach, but Duke is taking on your boys from Siena. And I mean, kudos. Been a fun year for them. They've done a great job. Are they going to keep it even within 30 in this game?
No, they're not. And let's give a shout out to Jerry McNamara. Jerry McNamara, let's be honest, should have got the Syracuse job when Jimmy Boeheim stepped down to give it to Adrian Autry. We saw what a unmitigated disaster that was. So to me, folks, this could be Jerry McNamara's last game at Siena, right in Loudonville, New York, right in upstate, not too far from Syracuse. But listen, Duke's going to roll them. The thing we know about Duke is the big man, and obviously we don't have Foster. We got to see when these guys come back. Duke needs to be whole here. And I think that's a storyline that's going on in the NCAA tournament is a lot of these top teams, Joe, are dealing with injuries.
Yep. Big time. Yeah, by the way, Siena last time to the dance, 2010, by the way. That's Coach Fran McCaffrey was then the coach on the sidelines there. So kudos to them. All right, we got one other one, Coach, in which I am not sweating out an under. McNeese and Vandy here. Did Vandy leave it all out on the court? Do they have enough to be able to win this game and win it by double digits?
150.5 points in an NCAA tournament game. Holy. Will Wayne left the team, but he did not leave the system. They will run, and the guard play with Vandy's been absolutely fantastic, Joe. I look at Vandy and take the team total over, maybe over in the game. McNeese, some teams will do what they do. McNeese State is one of them. Vandy with the outstanding guard play, they keep it rolling. Vandy with the win, take the over.
Yeah, it seems like, NIT games, Coach, we've gotten a ton of overs. Are we expecting in these early on games, first couple of rounds, some unders here, at least early in these games?
Yeah, especially these teams, the style make fights. So look for games to slow down a little bit. That's why teams like Purdue, teams like that are going to be good in the tournament because half-court basketball really wins in March.
Yeah. It's what it's all about, and I am looking forward to it. I know Craig's already had to switch to get his South Florida Bulls jersey on. Are you ready, Craig? Upset of the day?
On the Bulls, my heart is with the Gators.
South Florida winning.
No.
Thank you. That game.
Oh.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Thunder side, while they haven't had their stars totally for the entire regular season, they're still 3-4 games ahead of where the Spurs are, and that says a lot. Without SGA, without J-Dub, who's missed a large chunk of the year, Chet missed some time, for them to be still good enough to keep winning and stacking these wins, it means something, and it's actually building confidence for those others.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This team could be an ATS machine.
Yeah, you know what? I got excited. I usually get excited about the Jets in the offseason and kind of think, they could be sneaky better than people give them credit for. And even this Geno Smith deal, I originally kind of rolled my eyes and thought, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? And then you come to the conclusion and you realize, Kevin, they're paying him $1.3 million a year.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
Everybody has to develop, you know that. Think about Joe Burrow, okay? The beginning of his senior year, he was projected a 6th round draft pick, okay? And that's after playing a year at LSU. So Arch still has some developing to do, but he does have the potential to be a great player.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. only on SportsGrid.
Top of the hour here on the early line on Sports Grid. I'm Craig Mission for Donnie Rightside, along with Joe Ranieri. We got you for the next hour here, and naturally, it's college basketball season. The NCAA tournament begins today, so 12:20 Eastern it will be tip-off. But before we get to that, let's get to our headlines here on the show. Once again, as we begin, Joe, it's with the NBA, and I gotta tell you, Joe, this story really speaks to me more about where the NBA is headed than anything else. Like, I mean, the popularity of baseball and the rise of the World Baseball Classic, and we have college basketball, and we have an Olympic hockey going on in the National Football League. Man, the NBA is falling behind because of stories like this, man. Like, you have some of the best players in the NBA. They're playing, they're not playing, teams are tanking. And I think this is like a bigger issue going on right now for the league. I understand they still do well in ratings. They got those nice new TV contracts with NBC. But teams like the Bucks and the Lakers and some of these other teams with their stars, I think people are going to get sick and tired of hearing this stuff, man. I do. Like with the Durants and Hardens changing teams every 2-3 years. I mean, the stars need to stay where they were drafted, and I think the same applies to a guy like Giannis here, who definitely seems to be leaving at the end of the year. But I think they got to fix this.
You know, and no matter what, and I give Giannis all the credit in the world here. I mean, they've been doing this whole song and dance now over the last couple of years. He promised to, hey, I'll stay, put a team around me here. And what did they do? Well, they brought in Doc Rivers, of all people, and they basically got rid of some of the Brook Lopez's of the world, right? The Middletons, they're aging out. And they surrounded him with absolutely nothing. So, yes, he's missed games this year. He's not the one running, talking about getting me out of here. He's been very steadfast about, I'm a Milwaukee Buck. I want to be here, but if I'm not wanted here, I'll leave. They're trying to just end it right now and say, all right, there's no point in you playing anymore. And he's saying, you know what? People pay their money to come and see me play. I want to play. There's 14 games left. I give Giannis all the credit in the world, but the NBA has a bigger problem.
Yeah, much bigger problem with this tanking, and they can't keep their stars in the same city for more than a year. I don't know what is going on with this league, but the league's got to get themselves fixed because no one talking about the NBA right now outside of the drama.
Nope.
That doesn't work. All right, we are talking about the NCAA tournament. Louisville takes on South Florida, which we've discussed quite a bit here on the show, Joe. One of their top players going to be out, at least it looks like, for one game, maybe two, and this could affect certainly their outcome of their first game in the NCAA tournament.
Well, and listen, we saw this line 6.5 at one point, and there was some thought that he might be back here to play for Louisville. I mean, make no mistake about it, the numbers bear this out. They are a better team with him on the court. The kid is an absolute stud. But the minute that it was realized earlier this week that he likely is not just going for this game, if they're to win this game, we're probably not seeing him next game either. But this is now down to 4.5. And my fear here, Craig, is that, the entire world seems to be running towards South Florida. And you know what happens when everyone runs left here, Craig, right? Yeah, that's my fear here with this. They are still a very talented Louisville team, even without Mikhail Brown Jr.
Could be one of the better matchups in the NCAA tournament. Hockey, of course, getting ready for their big showdown here with the playoffs as well. You see the line there, 4.5, as Joe said, 163.5 the total. Sidney Crosby back. Canada had this incredible run in the Olympics that came up just short. Crosby got hurt. Took him a month to get back here, Joe, but good thing to see him back on the ice.
Great to see him back on the ice. Great for Pittsburgh, great for the NHL here, and it's good to see that the guy is an absolute legend. He's a Hall of Famer. There's no doubting what Sidney Crosby can bring to the table, and they need him. I mean, if they're going to make a run at this thing, having him on the ice is the way to do it, and I'm glad to see that he's back.
Also, one other hockey note to bring to you. Gary Bettman has said no decision yet on the World Cup of Hockey for Russia. Naturally, so much happening across our way with a lot of these different countries, a lot of war going on right now. And certainly we'll hope for the best and see if Russia ends up in this. If not, it'll be a decision by Bettman and the National Hockey League. Meanwhile, the Masters is coming up, Joe. And Rory McIlroy has made his food decision. It is no burgers, which Joe likes. It is no pizza, which Joe likes. There are no bagels, which Joe likes. So will you go for the sticky toffee pudding, or will you just simply pass and get that pimento cheese sandwich for a couple of bucks here, Joe? I think that's the popular meal at the Masters these days. Still $2, I think? $3?
Listen, if that's what you're serving me, Rory, I am going to the first tee box extremely hungry, my friend. It's just not going to work out for us here. But, you know, the previous winner, right, always gets to pick the dinner. What happened to the old just let's get the grills, let's get the porterhouses, and let's go here, right? I don't know what we got to do with all of this foo-foo flatbreads. And no, I'm out. Absolutely not.
Valspar Open, by the way, teeing off this morning, a couple of big events ahead of the Masters in a few weeks. Meanwhile, it does not appear that Tiger Woods is any closer to returning to Augusta as he was even a year ago. He said, quote, "I said I've been working on it. Sometimes I have good days. Sometimes I have bad days. Disc replacements is not fun." Will Zalatoris went through it. He had 2 levels done. It takes a lot of time. I mean, I think for sentimental reasons, Joe, it'd be nice to see Tiger Woods play in this. But, I mean, I'm not going to say he's played in his last event, but it sure feels like it at this point.
Yeah, no. Nobody... I don't need Tiger to go out just to be there and shoot 80 and miss the cut. You know what I mean? If Tiger is going to go, and this is really the one major left that every year we have a shot at seeing him. So I don't want him doing it just to do it. I don't think he wants to do that. I want to see Tiger be competitive. And hey, listen, you may not win, but can we get 4 rounds out of him? And if he's hurting like that, we know that's not going to happen, Craig.
And finally, the WNBA Players Association and the owners came to a new agreement on a collective bargaining agreement ahead of tip-off, which is 2 months away here. And the most important takeaway from this, Joe, the players, what they were complaining about was a lot, and for good reason. But the most important thing, Joe, is that minimum salary raises from $300,000 to $600,000. I see the cap is up here a little bit too, but the players were just underpaid at the bottom, and I think that this is the most important takeaway for me.
Listen, I'm glad that they got it out of the way. They can get back to doing what, the fans of the WNBA want, and that's let's play some basketball here. But at least they cleared this hurdle. Everyone makes a little bit more money, and we should be good to go here. And the sooner rather than later, Craig, because the sooner we can start seeing some of these games, the less we'll be talking about CBAs and contracts and everything else.
Yeah, and naturally we're about to go through this with Major League Baseball as well, coming up this winter after the season, but hopefully they're able to come to an agreement sooner rather than later on that. All right, so let's take a quick time out here on the early line. When we come back next, we'll be joined by Kevin Walsh here on the show, Joe, and Kevin will weigh in on everything happening in the NCAA tournament. So you're up in New York City. What does your tournament day look like for you here today? I mean, this is a big commitment to just run around the city watching games from 12 to 12, no?
Yeah, no, it's going to be quite interesting here because I'm hoping not to spend a lot of time going from place to place because it's 32 degrees here, Craig, and I don't want to be outside any longer than I have to be. However, I am looking forward. I got brackets. I got last-minute brackets I got to fill out here, so a lot to do between now and the opening tip at noon. But I will be parking myself in one very warm location and taking it all in, my friend.
I used to travel to New York like you for the Experts Fantasy Leagues. They had this thing, the fantasy baseball. They had it in New York. After 5 years, I said, guys, either you move this somewhere else or I'm out of the league. And I'm out. Still do it in New York. What are they thinking? We'll be right back. Don't go away.
I'm with you.
All right, welcome back to the early line here on SportsGrid. College basketball coverage throughout the day, including this show, including Newswire, including our coverage at 3 p.m. Eastern. Kevin Walsh will be part of that, getting you ready for the evening games. There's like that 1 hour gap, I think, in between the day and the night. Kevin will recap the first half of the games and then preview the night, but he's going to join us now to talk about that as well. Kevin, great to have you here on the early line along with Joe Ranieri. And you ready? You ready to go here? Long days ahead for us here next couple days.
Yeah, it is, but in a way, at least the way I don't know, maybe I put too much into it, but because I feel like I have to break every single game down in order to fill out the bracket of the first round, almost all of the bets are in now for both Thursday and Friday, which kind of will allow me to sit back and enjoy. And then I'm sure bet live where it's like, wait, that's not going well. You know what? Maybe they're not going to cover the 10.5, but this 18.5 looks pretty good. So we'll have the chance to jump in game during the show later today, as you mentioned, Craig, and just really, really excited to get these games going here.
All right, so let's dive in. The three of us here, the early lines game of the day. We have the 11 seed South Florida taking on number 6 Louisville Thursday. That's today, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We know that Louisville, Kevin, will be missing one of their key players in this one, and we also know that South Florida, as far as teams entering the NCAA tournament, is as hot as any team jumping in here. So is this a live dog for you, or as Joe pointed out earlier in the show, when everybody is on one side, it does become a little bit scary?
The thing is, it's tough, right? Because I more than see where Joe is coming from. Sometimes, though, these teams just like, they're the right side. We've seen that where it's like everyone talks about McNeese last year, and then they just knock off Clemson. I ultimately felt less conviction on the side and felt more comfortable with what is supposed to be a high-scoring game being even more high-scoring than the books project. But funny enough, I'm only focusing on the Louisville side of it because South Florida is going to play up and down, and if they can get it going here and they can score 95, they might win this game. But I feel very confident in what Louisville is going to bring to the table. When I've seen some similar or even lesser offenses play South Florida out of conference, they played OSU, right, Oklahoma State, 103-95, that final score for South Florida. Alabama, they played 104-93, that final score. They even played a George Washington team, right, where that game was 99-95. The Louisville team total, and it's not very expensive juice-wise. I bet earlier at a -120. I think you get around -105 now. 84.5. I know Mikal Brown's out. I know he's really good, but they're used to Mikal Brown not being out there and available for them. So I like this Louisville team total here. Actually, one of my favorite bets on this Thursday.
All right, there you go. All right, so now it's funny because we could make a case, and you know a lot of people are here, Kev. Every dog from a mid-major that's, won 18 or more games and could shoot the three is live to upset. High Point is not beating Wisconsin. Sorry, not going to happen. We may get some points here, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a game that they have stepped up in competition like they're about to here today against Wisconsin. We've seen Wisconsin beat 5 of the best teams in the country in this tournament. Is High Point going to shock us all here and upset Wisconsin?
I actually think they can. Now, to be fair, you hit on something that I felt stood out a lot to me, Joe, when I was going through the lower level teams here. Not a lot of them even tried games against like big level teams, right? Like, hey, let's get this under our belt. Let's see what this is like. We just like High Point's toughest opponent out of conference, App State, UAB. So I totally see where you're coming from. The thing is, we're going to see some upset somewhere, and High Point is on the longest win streak right now at 14 consecutive, and I think they guard the three well enough to throw some variance in the mix here. But you have to be able to score the ball in order to upset Wisconsin, right? And we know High Point can. The 10.5 to me, Joe, is something that I'm going to play. And I'll say this, 'cause I think we're on opposite sides of that game. It is the tournament, right? Like, we're all betting one of today's 16 games. People are going to be on opposite sides, right? And ultimately, it's going to be about your own conviction here. I think Wisconsin, if this was a November game, Joe, you're right. I'm probably not on High Point here, but it is the tournament. And things get wild, and I think High Point does actually have the chance to muck it up here with the Badgers.
Kevin, Hawaii, another one of those really hot teams entering the NCAA tournament, but not seeing any love here from the odds makers because Arkansas had this great run in the SEC tournament. They're 15.5-point favorites, total of 160.5. I mean, generally this tournament, I don't think is going to be uneven here, Kevin, meaning I think this is going to go one way or the other. Either a lot of these big numbers are going to be covered, or we're just going to see the chalk play out like it did a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope we get like some balance. The one thing I would say is if we do have a lot of chalk, it sets us up for a phenomenal Saturday and Sunday. If we get Arkansas, Wisconsin, I mean, that's just fantastic. St. John's, Kansas, right, in the 4-5. That's an absolute treat. Vanderbilt and Tennessee. History says, though, you take one of those and like it, right? Maybe two and like it here. What I will say for Arkansas, Hawaii, I'm playing it towards the under at 160.5. Hawaii, I don't think will be thrown by the pace of Arkansas, but I do think their commitment to just play one-on-one defense might actually slow the Razorbacks down, just pace-wise. Again, Darius Acuff has a points prop of around 26.5. The idea is he basically starts this game at 20 and could very well, if it's close enough, go to 30, 35 within this basketball game. But sometimes those ISO possessions take a little bit longer here. Razorbacks are a really good defense, better than anything Hawaii's seen.
All right, Kevin, thanks a lot. We'll be back with more of the early line. It's March Madness style here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the early line here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mission for Donnie Rightside. I got Joe Ranieri by my side here until 9 a.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning into the show this morning. Great to be back with you here on the show. And let's get to a little bit of fun stuff here. As Joe, this is kind of hard to believe. Brooklyn scored less than some jersey numbers in the NBA against Oklahoma City. Thunder have clinched the playoff spot that they've been looking for. They're just looking to win the whole thing. 24-point first half matches the lowest in the play-by-play era. 24 points for the Brooklyn Nets, Joe. I mean, how low are we sinking to here?
Well, you mentioned it earlier, Craig. Welcome to the NBA, because that's what it has become. In what world does Adam Silver think having an NBA franchise score 11 points in a quarter, and I don't care who they're playing. It shouldn't matter that they're playing, but the fact is that they could not raise the amount of points they scored in the second quarter to kind of offset it. When you have that kind of futility going on with NBA franchises, your league has a problem, and they have a problem, Greg. And that was example A last night with the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, and this time of the year, it's sort of expected, but this has been going on for a lot of teams in January and February. This is like the sprint to the finish has been a slog for Washington and Utah and Brooklyn and a lot of teams in the NBA. All right, meanwhile, let's hear from Bryson DeChambeau on the Live Golf Tour, currently getting ready to hit the golf links, and kind of had some funny comments about getting ready.
But I want to give you a chance to nerd out on your wedges.
Yes, let's go.
What does nerding out and dialing in wedges for Augusta look like?
So it's a great question. It's a lot about strike point and how much turf is getting in between the face and the grass, and mitigating that, managing that strike, and how you manage that strike is dependent upon how soft the turf is. Be more, just shoot if I'm 5% more consistent. I mean, I have a better chance than what I did last year at the Masters. So, you know, I took that last Masters as an opportunity to learn on how to become a better iron player and a better wedger. Felt like most of it was there. You know, just a couple fine-tuning and moments, and continue to ball strike it the way I have, and hopefully I give myself a good chance.
All right. Well, hopefully Bryson gets himself back on the PGA Tour, because as of right now, we only get to see him 4 times a year for those majors, and that's it. Anyway, all right, let's get to our poll of the day. Fade the public here. We've got Wisconsin. We've got South Florida. We've got a lot of teams that could potentially win. We've got some others that could pull off the upset. So our question of the day, our poll question of the day, is how many upsets will there be? 3 or more in the NCAA tournament, the first couple of rounds. Joe, it appears as though this is a dead even vote at the moment.
Yeah, I'm thinking here, Craig, that if you're anticipating and expecting a whole lot of, shall we say, underdogs to deliver in the first round, I don't see it. I think there's going to be a lot of chalk, but I would say I give it 3 tops in the first round, right? You got to get from 64 to 32, right? So we got a few opportunities on the board, I think, that are priced to go either way. Can VCU beat North Carolina? That kind of, there's injuries, like you said, with South Florida and Louisville. But to me, I think this is going to be extremely chalky. So I would be on the shorter end. If you're expecting a ton of upsets, I don't see it happening.
All right, now it's time for us to give you guys our best bets going into the week. It's time for our Fade the Public. All right, so I am taking South Florida plus the points. This is like the most boring pick of the day here, because I've done it like 6 times on the show so far. USF plus 4.5. I really do think they got an eye. And by the way, just to be clear here, I am in South Florida, but the University of South Florida is in Tampa. Never understood why they are USF, but either way, I am going to take the Bulls today to upset Louisville.
Can't go wrong there, Craig. Despite Coach Greg Gard in Wisconsin being bounced out 5 consecutive times now in the first round here. I think they're going to get it done. This team can score with anybody. They have beaten the best in the country. High Point is not going to be one of those upsets here. I expect Wisconsin to roll here today.
All right, prediction market edge coming up next. Don't go away.